could be the biggest ever round of Porsche Carrera Cup Australia. Tander, Van Gisbergen, Percat, Reynolds and more have come to play. Across two tough races, the stage is set for an absolute thriller here at Porsche Renault Sport. Hi everyone, welcome to Sydney Motorsport Park. It is a beautiful day for a big weekend to kick off of all Porsche racing. It's the 2016 Porsche Renault Sport Motor Racing Festival featuring round 3 of the 2016 Porsche Carrera Cup Australia Championship. And what a championship it has been so far. 2 round winners from 2 different rounds, a whole bunch of different race winners. And this weekend, some very, very big names have joined the Carrera Cup regulars to fight out over 2 one-hour Pro-Am races. Nick McBride leads the standings ahead of Alex Davison and Matt Campbell. It's a very close fight at the top. In the Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge, it's Tony Bates over Stephen Grove and Adrian Mastronato. There's plenty of strong combinations ready for this weekend's Porsche Carrera Cup Australia Pro-Am here at Porsche Renault Sport. At Hallmark Property Group Racing, Mark Seeney's gone for experienced V8 supercar race Michael Caruso. But why?
Well, a combination of things. Firstly, he's a terrific driver, and more importantly, he's Dean Fiore's teammate in the Nissan V8. So, given Dean's my teammate, it made sense that we use that combination.
Caruso is new to Porsche racing, so how has he found his Porsche Carrera Cup Australia debut so far?
Yeah, look, it's been a lot of fun so far. I mean, particularly teaming up with Mark, very experienced campaigner in this category, which is good for me because, like you said, I'm very fresh, very new to it. And look, it's always nice to try something new. And the boys are doing a great job so far. And, I think this weekend for us, particularly at Hallmark team, that we can do something pretty good, hopefully.
These are tough races, difficult to win and very competitive. So what's the key to success here at Sydney Motorsport Park?
Well, it just shuffles everything up. Everyone's got a similar chance. In real terms, the race is probably won with the amateur driver and how well he performs, because the pros are all within a very narrow band of each other time-wise. So it really gets down to how quick they can make us during the event, more than finding the extra tenth for them.
Former Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge champion Stephen Grove and regular co-driver Scott McLaughlin have had plenty of success in Porsche's Pro-Am format. But with McLaughlin away racing elsewhere, Grove has secured Lee Holdsworth as a more than adequate replacement.
Oh, definitely. Once Scotty said he couldn't do it, we sat down and worked out who'd be the best fit, and Lee's been the best fit, and he proved that in the test when we tested here, and I'm wrapped. It's really good.
Grove sits second in the Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge. And Lee knows his role for these crucial races in his co-driver's 2016 title campaign.
Definitely, driving with Earl Bamber was awesome. We did Renault Sport back in 2013, I think back then. And then I've drove with Scotty and I've learned different things from both of them. And now with Lee, I've learned a lot of different things from him as well, how they drive the car. But I know Scotty's pretty nervous.
For one thing, straight away you're on the other side of the car, but it actually doesn't take long to get used to. Within a lap or two, you forget about it, and your judgments are all intact with the car and the side you're sitting on. But the big difference is tyres, and probably power. These things corner a lot quicker, but they don't have the straight line grunt that we have in the V8. So they end up doing a similar lap time, but in different, achieve it in a different way. But it's a different beast, totally different beast, and they're a bit easier to drive than the V8. So just enjoying it.
Defending Porsche Pro-Am champions Shane Smolin and Nick Percat are back to defend their title this year, and they're confident that continuity will be key to more success in 2016.
Yeah, look, we've had a good run so far, so why break it at this stage? A couple of wins, round win last year, so off to a slower start yesterday. We think we've got our act together. We've worked out what we need to do today, so really looking forward to it. But conditions are going to play a big part. But last year was Phillip Island put our championship back on track. a little bit like this year, a little bit of bad luck in the first couple of rounds, but we've had good track speed, a DNF or two that hasn't helped behind other people's accidents. So if we can repeat what we did last year, or at least be well up in the points, that should put us on track then to bring the year home.
A former Carrera Cup racer himself, Percat is pleased more of his current V8 supercar buddies have come to join the party this year.
Yeah, there's a bit more of a showing of the V8 guys here. It's good, I think. You know, when you get a car like the Porsche on a Michelin, it's very appealing to us. You know, we drive an overpowered, undertired car, and then we get in the Porsche, which is probably a little bit underpowered but got massive grip, and we thrive with that. Any race driver loves grip, and it's good to get Garth here, Holdsworth and Caruso and Giz, you know, 4 exceptional V8 supercar drivers, and I think it's going to be pretty close. You know, we've all been, there's a rule, 10 minutes after we have to meet for a coffee and discuss who was where and what's going on, and you know, myself and Garth are doing nearly identical lap times. Giz has been quite quick, but yeah, today will be the day we are bragging rights in qualifying.
And very tall V8 supercar drivers as well, they're imposing.
Over at Copy World Racing, former factory Porsche driver Alex Davison is not only excited about this weekend's 2 races, but the prospect of an all-Porsche festival full stop.
Oh, it's such a fantastic event, and on one side it's a round of our Carrera Cup Championship, so of course we're taking it seriously, we want to do well, but on the other side I'm a big car enthusiast and Porsche enthusiast and love getting around and having a look at some of the awesome cars that are on display, and I'm lucky enough to drive the LMP car in the demonstration, so there's a lot of cool sort of extra things to do this weekend, on top of the fact that it's a Pro-Am as well, which is something different for us, so lucky enough to have CJ fly all the way over from LA to share the car with me.
Expat Aussie David Calvert-Jones returns to home shores this weekend, joining longtime friend and co-driver Davison in the Copy World Porsche.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Melbourne, and you know, I love Australia, I love coming back here, but sort of the life and work that I have is, you know, is American and based over there in Los Angeles. And, you know, Alex and I have driven a bunch before, Bathurst 12-hour, and Alex came over and drove a few events at IMSA events with me. So, you know, we've become mates, and when he said, "Come, you want to come and drive?" I jumped at the chance. Yeah, I've always wanted to come down here and do these Carrera Cup events.
So to qualifying, each driver had their own 20-minute session to bank a time, then those times were combined to set the grid position for that car. Adrian Flack and David Wall ultimately qualified third. Second, the defending champions in the Carrera Cup Pro-Am format, Nick Percat and Shane Smollen, reigning champ in the Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge. But fastest in both sessions, Jeff Emery, fastest of the challenge drivers, and Matt Campbell, fastest in him, and they got pole position.
Jeff done an awesome job in his session, polling in as well, so can't be happier. I mean, you know, but anything can happen in these races. It's turned some, you know, been some interesting racing in the past, I suppose you could say, but really looking forward to it, and hopefully we can just get a good start and, you know, pull away a little bit.
Third career pole for Matt Campbell, the young Queenslander. Sensational job too by Jeff Emery. It will be Campbell to start the Nouveau Constructions Porsche from McElroy Racing from pole position. And the rules of the Pro-Am race format are the driver that finishes race 1 must start race 2. So there's a really diverse mix of drivers on this grid, and the order will shuffle over the course of this 1 hour long race with a compulsory pit stop midway through. Campbell and Emery from the front row. Nick Percat starts car 56 from second place, as does David Wall from third. Grove and Holdsworth, we need to watch their progress. That team has got a great track record in Carrera Cup Pro-Am racing. They'll be going from the 6th row of the grid. And Shane Van Gisbergen, right from the very back of the field, will start the Scott Taylor Motorsport car from 20th. His progress will be good. We're underway, the first of 2 Pro-Am races. To good start, David Wall. He beats the pole man into turn 1 from 3rd. Really good start, and Percat going around the outside of Campbell. Good start for the McGrath McElroy Porsche. So the pole man relegated to 3rd. It might be 2nd quickly though, because Percat on cold Michelin tyres. Barrel's a little bit wide at turn 2, and Campbell regains that position. Alex Davison behind them in 4th place in the Wilson Parking Copy World Racing entry. Feisty start though from David Wall, who's just been looking for a good qualifying performance this season. This is Van Gisbergen. goes down the inside of Max Twigg, the 777 Bob Jane T-Mart's Sonic Motor Racing car, and he's already got a bunch of spots. There's the 222 car. He's passed 7 cars. This has been an amazing opening couple of laps for the Flying Kiwi. Corporate Hill. This is on board with Adrian Mastronato. He'll hand over to Tim Slade later in the motor race, and bang down the inside. Big pass for car 4, Stephen Grove, champion of the Hankook Carrera Challenge a couple of seasons ago, and that badly cost Adrian. He's dropped a bunch of spots. Meanwhile, this fight for the lead with David Wall under pressure from Matt Campbell. Nick Percat 3rd, Alex Davison 4th. It's all pros at the front of the field. Nick McBride, championship leader, started the next one, and that's a cheeky wave from Shane Van Gisbergen. John Goodacre alongside him, the GT3 Cup Challenge racer, and he's gone to 10th place at the end of lap 1. Remember, he started 20th. Amazing cold tyre pace for the incredible Kiwi, who's in an amazing stretch of racing, doing 7 race meetings in 7 weeks all around the world. So 1 lap down, and it was a wild one, and they're still sorting themselves out a little bit further down the field. The 360 Fly Porsche, Fraser Ross and Dave Ryan to share that car, scrapping it out with Maxi Twigg and the 777 Bob Jane T-Mart's racer. Max is a former champion in the Hankook Carrera Challenge. The semi-pro drivers, Mastronato cops a serve in the left rear corner. It bounces him out wide, and he'll lose the spot. That's the Horsley Park gunshot car. James Abella, one of the drivers there. Tony Walls sharing with him. So let's go back and analyse the start. Wheel spin for Matt Campbell was his biggest issue, and a perfect start for David Wall allowed him to drive down the inside. Percat on the outside, but Nick went a little bit too deep and a little bit wide up at 2, and Campbell was able to grab that spot. But look at the Flying Kiwi barrelling around the outside of a whole bunch of very good racing car drivers. This should be really interesting. Let's watch, listen and enjoy. So 4 cars already. Make it 5. There'll be some more yet. That is astonishing. Shane Van Gisbergen. Wow. Bear in mind, this is his first ever Porsche Carrera Cup Australia race. Like he's been doing it for 20 years. Amazing opening lap. And we're back live to a great racing. And there he is now, just tagging on to the back of what is a very closely bunched leading group of cars. And that's Garth Tander in front, who's going to get a spot. Van Gisbergen will get 2. McBride running wide there in the Bob Jane car, and another friendly wave. Well, he's been very friendly about his progress forward, has Shane Van Gisbergen, waving to everybody as he sails through the field. And he's going to be in the top 5 now. There he is, past Garth Tander. He's driving the Motor 1 Car Care Porsche Brighton entry that James Bergmuller races full time. And he's had a very solid start to his championship, Bergmuller. Experienced Victorian driver. This is Campbell still applying the pressure to David Wall for the race lead. Turn 2, good place to pass, he'll have a go. And Wall just a little bit wide, big sideways moment from Campbell as they scrap side by side, but Wally's got track position. He's got the inside line through turn 3 and he holds on. Fighting stuff. 5 or 6 laps into a motor race, we've still got a massive group of cars very closely bunched together. McElroy Racing watching on. Jeff Emery, centre of screen, sitting up on the toolbox. Tim Miles on the left of screen watching on. He's got GT3 Cup Challenge racing on his cards this weekend, but heavily invested in what's going on track in this great motor race. Remember Porsche Carrera Cup, everyone is in the same car. And down the inside goes Campbell. Uses a bit of hip and shoulder if he needs to and wrestles the race lead away from David Wall. Good pass. Good hard racing. And Wall didn't give it up without a fight. That was excellent. Great respect shown by 2 now very experienced drivers, Wall especially. But Campbell's got plenty of miles in these cars. They showed a lot of respect. They also know it's a long motor race. And down the inside, a little bit of contact don't think driver standards observer Craig Baird will think too much of that. It was okay. Great motor race underway. Back live, incredible Porsche Carrera Cup Australia Pro-Am. Matt Campbell leads the way from David Wall. He just wrestled the lead away from the experienced Sydney sider, Shane Smollen and Nick Percat. It's Percat behind the wheel of car 56. He is under all kinds of pressure from Shane Van Gisbergen, who was 4th and is now 3rd. Started 20th. This has been some kind of charge. Remember, everyone's got the same car. Everyone's got the same Michelin control tyre. It's just been an incredible charge through the field. I don't know what tyre condition will be like when he hands that car over to Paul Kelly for the second half of the race, but he just had the job to get the car into the fight. They qualified last, started from the very back of the field. They had a ride height infringement in quali as well. Didn't help the cause. It's all fixed now, and this has been a remarkable drive. And now he's got the pressure on David Wall. Campbell has just scampered away a little bit. So this is 2nd and 3rd. Quick chat on the radio for Van Gisbergen. They'll be thinking ahead to pit stops. You think he might stay out a little bit later in this motor race just to get some clean air when the leaders pit. They've got a 10-minute window to get their compulsory pit stop underway. This for 2nd. Goes around the inside of David Wall, then around the outside of David Wall, and takes the position from David Wall. That's P2 from 20th. Remarkable drive. And now he's got 4 or 5 seconds to the race leader, Matt Campbell, to haul in. So this is that great sequence of moves we've just seen from the Flying Kiwi. That was Alex Davison for 1. So that put him to P4. This was on Nick Percat. Nick Percat, Clipsal 500 V8 Supercar race winner, down the inside. That was P3. And David Wall, double Australian GT champion, for P2. Great move, great hard racing. And I think the thing out of all of this is that it's been very, very clean by everyone. Lots of racing room given. So we're 16 laps in and the pit stop starting to happen. And, hesitation from Adrian Mastronato there. I think he wanted to pit, but he either got a last-minute call to stay out or made the decision because one of his teammate cars, the Bob Jane T-Mart's 777 car, was already in the lane. So these are the cars that started the race with their challenge driver, which means they bolt the pro in now. The Grove Group car is one of those. Lee Holdsworth will drive that car. He will take over from Stephen Grove. See Dean Grant and the laser plumbing and electrical Porsche. He'll hand over to the former champion Stephen Richards, one of the best in the game. And now Michael Caruso will get his opportunity to jump behind the wheel of car number 9 and have his first experience of Porsche Carrera Cup Australia racing. Ash Walsh takes over 777 from Max Twigg. Good stop by Sonic Motor Racing as the battle for the lead continues. So these cars started this race with their pro drivers, and a pro save from Van Gisbergen. Almost threw it up the road at turn 2. Just got the thing stopped without spinning. The McElroy team watching on. What a battle. Van Gisbergen is throwing everything at this motor race. So it's quite wide going in. I wonder if just getting on the white line on the outside of the road, maybe a little bit of grass, and he locked the rear brakes and had a big slide. And usually these things with the engine hanging out over the rear axle, they pendulum quickly, so they spin, but he caught that. Well, between his GT racing and his Carrera Cup racing and his V8 Supercar racing and his remote control car racing, Shane Van Gisbergen is also an acknowledged and accomplished drifter. And with Matt Campbell, the leader, pulling off, he will take the race lead from 20th on the grid in a one-mate category. Van Gisbergen goes to the front. Remarkable. Great stint from Campbell. Remember, didn't get a great start, but he will hand over to a gentleman that's been the fastest of the semi-pro drivers, the Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge drivers this weekend. Jeff Emery, multiple Commodore Cup champion, raced GT3 Cup Challenge last year, so he's battle-hardened in these cars. He knows how to get the most out of them. It's a formidable combination. Adrian Flack taking over from David Wall. Great to see Wally out in front, and Sam Walter, the Tasmanian, will take over from the young gun Dylan O'Keefe in the Dexion Supply Centre car. Now Van Gisbergen hits his marks. 40 k's an hour, right on the line from the race lead. And now we get the battle of the pit stop strategies playing out. So Van Gisbergen stayed out a little bit longer. Paul Kelly will jump into that car and we'll get that sequence of where they all slot in when everyone's completed their stop. And there will be some fast guys coming through this field at the end of the motor race. Fraser Ross in the 360 Fly Porsche. He'll hand over to David Ryan, the GT3 Cup Challenge racer. I'm going to put some tyres on the working side, the left-hand side, correction, right-hand side of the 360 Fly Porsche. So there goes Paul Kelly, his stop done. Compulsory timed pit stop for 45 seconds. They have to be stationary. You get penalised if you leave too early. And we need to wait and see where Jeff Emery comes out in relation to Paul Kelly. So here's Emery crossing the strike now. So Kelly will have a race lead. Emery should just appear back of shot. There he is. So that will be, when it all shakes out and everyone's completed their compulsory pit stop, that will be the fight for the lead. So it's worked well. Van Gisbergen stayed out an extra lap, had clear racetrack to drive that car as hard as he could, and he just got enough of a margin to allow his co-driver to jump out. Andy McElroy talking to Nick Percat and Matt Campbell, who both drove brilliantly at the start of what's shaping up to be a thrilling first race, the Porsche Carrera Cup Pro-Am. Welcome back, Sydney Motorsport Park in Western Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. Porsche Renault Sport Motor Racing Festival and a belter Porsche Carrera Cup Australia Race 1. The annual Pro-Am format never disappoints, and this one is turning out to be an absolute cracker. This is the fight for the lead. Christchurch Kiwi driver Paul Kelly leads the way with his co-driver Shane Van Gisbergen having dragged that car from P20 to the race lead. This is Jeff Emery. He's on board Matt Campbell's car, and he's now the leader of the motor race. Nice pass down the inside at turn 2, and he grabs the top spot. So Campbell led early. Van Gisbergen carved his way through the field. And after the pit stops, Paul Kelly emerged in the front, but Emery has slowly chipped that lead down. And here's the pass up at turn 2. Heavy braking zone, big stop. 230 odd kilometres an hour. Down to third gear. Now this is P5. 27 laps into the motor race. There's not that long to go, and this is feisty. So Shane Smolin, defending champion in the Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge. Behind them, Sam Walter. In front is David Calvert-Jones, the expat Aussie, who's back racing with his good mate Alex Davison this weekend. Nick Percat did a nice job early in car 56. Oh, squeal of tyres in the background there, and car 56 is gone, and off the road goes Dylan Thomas in Nick McBride's championship leading number 77 car from Sonic Motor Racing. So there's been some dramas up at turn 12, and Smolin ended up pointing in the wrong direction. So I think there was contact there. He had Walter behind him in the Dexion Supply Centre car. Have a look. Oh, I think there was contact as their two lines converged through the final corner. And behind them, Dylan Thomas, Sydney sider, who's back with Sonic for his second year in the Pro-Am format, had nowhere to go and just took evasive action. Big bump off the exit curb as he rejoined. So a lot of drama there, and Shane Smolin losing positions he couldn't afford to lose. Speaking of, that's a brake lock up for Adrian Flack at turn 2, and he's lost a spot potentially on the podium in this motor race. James Bergmuller went through. So after a great opening stint from Garth Tander, another driver in his first ever Carrera Cup race, James Bergmuller carrying on for that yellow, black and white Porsche run out of the Steve Richards Motorsport camp. Now this is Mr. Excitement. I'm not talking about Van Gisbergen, I'm talking about David Reynolds, former Porsche Carrera Cup Australia champion, V8 full-timer. He's jumped behind the wheel of the Move It Net, number 24 Porsche that Tony Bates races full-time, leader in the Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge, and he is flying through the field. So you get this great scenario in these races where you've got some pros out there blazing their way through, some of the challenge drivers looking to maintain or gain positions. The pros are a little bit quicker, they're working their way through. That's Paul Kelly running a little bit wide at the hairpin, and Bergmüller will go through and grab P2. This is a really impressive drive. Paul Kelly hasn't raced one of these cars for a little while. He didn't run a couple of seasons in Porsche Carrera Cup Australia, so he's got miles in the cars, but quite recently, and certainly not as recent as James Bergmüller, who started the season very well in the Carrera Challenge fight. So just went a little bit wide. I think the hallmark of the racing so far today has been how clean it's been for the most part. Everyone just putting on a very good show and giving each other racing room. Last lap of the motor race. Kelly locks the rears and spins it too. He'll surrender some spots now. You can see David Reynolds going through, Adrian Flack as well. Well, we questioned what the tyre condition of these hard-working Michelins might be like. They're a very durable tyre, but I wonder if P20 to P1 might have been a bit much for them, because PK hasn't got much left. So he locked the rear brakes going up into turn 2. There's no locking of brakes for this car. From McElrea Racing, Matt Campbell, already a race winner once this season. Jeff Emery has done a superb job in the lead of the race. This is Reynolds on Flack for third. Final spot in the top 3 in the motor race, and he'll get good drive out of the hairpin and draw alongside the Wilson Security and pace number 38 Porsche, and he'll grab the spot. So Reynolds has stormed from nowhere to be in the top 3 on the final lap of the race. Meanwhile, it's a big win for McElrea. It's a big win for Matt Campbell, who's a championship contender. And it's a first Carrera Cup win for Jeff Emery. Superb drive by the Victorian driver and his little Queensland co-driver. There he is. This kid is an absolute superstar of the future. Jeff Emery's done a superb job anchoring his charge. The rest of the field comes through. What a great motor race. Campbell and Emery, Bergmüller, Tander, Bates and Reynolds third. Kelly and Van Gisbergen from 20th ended 5th. I think you've got to be happy with that. It was a superb motor race over the page. Grove and Holdsworth finished where they started, in 11th in front of Stephen Richards and Dean Grant. Let's hear from the happy winner. Here's Matt Campbell.
And Wally didn't make it easy for me, but very happy to get a win in the end.
And for you, Jeff, you had to do some passing as well, because that 222 car seemed to come from nowhere.
Yeah, obviously Gizzy was pretty quick in his stint and gave Matty a run for his money, but I only had one car to pass, so Matty made my job really easy.
Yeah, we just started from the back and car balance was awesome, and pushed up to the front, but probably took a little bit too much out of the tyres for PK here and probably made it a little more difficult than it should have. But I got a pretty average start, but the rest of it was good the first lap. But not sure what the other guys were doing, but I think we were on a better tyre than most. That maybe they were saving, but yeah, we decided we were last, so we had a big go.
The Porsche Renault Sport Festival means a lot of exclusive Porsches, but no more so than the Australian debut of the brand new Porsche GT3R that will race in Australian GT this year. For Walkinshaw Racing, engineer Matt Nielsen will be running the program.
Well, it's basically the 2016 911 GT3R from Porsche. So new for 2016 across the world. FIA homologated to keep competing in GT3 series around the world. First in Australia, so it's pretty exciting for us. It's purpose-built, obviously, race car. It's got the boxer engine in the back, traditional with Porsche, but direct injection, revs to about 9,000 RPM, variable valve timing, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of technology in the car, certainly new to us as Walkinshaw.
Developed in-house by the factory in Weissach, Germany, the GT3R is an easy way for drivers, both professional and amateur, to get into top-level GT3 racing.
They've got a big range of race cars, effectively. It's built really, their model's based around the gentleman driver. You know, a gentleman driver can go and buy this car and race it, but obviously professional drivers as well. So it's based on being able to buy the car and go straight to the racetrack and run it. Very, very much about endurance racing, so long life on all the parts, which is great.
Porsche are serious about their racing, so much so that Walkinshaw have got some factory assistance for their debut of the GT3R.
This weekend we're fortunate enough to have an engineer from Germany with us. It's part of their customer program, so you get that support. We regularly get bulletins and updates from the factory on updates to the car. You know, it's a very new car, so as you expect, there's a few updates required, and obviously there's homologation work that needs to be done. So the support we get from the factory and Porsche Australia as well is fantastic.
Walkinshaw Racing, of course, are famous for being a top-flight V8 supercar team, but they're quickly coming to terms with everything the GT3R has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why it's been good to do a test day and be here at Rensport. Yeah, obviously the weight bias towards the rear, but not just that, but aerodynamics as well. This is a full flat bottom car. You can see the size of the rear wing. It's a sequential shift, but it's the pneumatic paddle shift. So again, new technology there for us, ABS. So yeah, it's a really good learning exercise.
GT3 racing in particular is undergoing a global explosion in 2016. So much so that there's plenty of new cars racing in Australia this year. Walkinshaw see the appeal in getting a current spec car they can race here and abroad.
Yeah, it's great for the category, and one of the big reasons we wanted to get involved is how it's growing. But yeah, a lot of 2016 model cars coming in, so it's great for the growth of sport in Australia. But also means that, you know, if we wanted to go overseas with the car, it's built to that specification. So we can go and do a Sepang or something like that if we wanted to within our program. And a lot of other teams can probably look at that as well. So the car will always maintain its homologation and legality to go and compete anywhere in the world, which is really good.
Race 2 of the Porsche Carrera Cup Australia Pro-Am from the Porsche Renault Sport Festival at a beautiful Sydney Motorsport Park. It's a cracking day for motor racing, and like race 1, this should be a thriller of a motor race because there's so much to play out amongst this field with the pro and semi-pro drivers jumbled up on this grid. Jeff Emery, who finished yesterday's race, starts this one. That's the rule. If you finish race 1, you have to start race 2. So there'll be some fast cars blazing their way through the field early in this and vice versa at the end. Ready for a start, Porsche Carrera Cup Australia at Porsche Renault Sport. There's no sound quite like it. There's a slow-moving car back in the field. I think it was Adrian Flack. He was away slowly. Ash Walsh charging himself through in 777. Here's Tim Slade. V8 supercar race. He's got a job to do for Adrian Mastronato in that silver Veritas Porsche. Jeff Emery led into turn 1. He doesn't lead out of 2 though, because David Reynolds in Tony Bates' number 24 car grabs the race lead. Ripper start. Former Carrera Cup champion. He knows how to drive these cars. It's what he raced before he went into the main game. Some really good battling a little bit further behind the leaders as the field sorts themselves out. There's Slade, cold Michelin tyres. Everyone getting through okay, and he's done a very nice job. Side-by-side battle here. Lee Holdsworth in the Grove Hire Porsche. That's the red and white car in the middle of that shot through turn 6. Michael Caruso, Nissan V8 supercar driver, behind the wheel of Mark Sini's Hallmark Property Group car. Dean Fiore there behind the wheel. He'll be looking to work his way through in the Saint Clothing Porsche. Gee, it's a busy fight. Up into the final complex. Everyone finding their place on the racetrack relative to those around them. Sebastian Padiacci in the Darrell Lee Sticks car. It's actually Roger Largo who's driving that. So Padiacci will finish the race. That car now being run by McElroy Racing this year. So 1 lap down for the leaders. Great start, Reynolds. Emery second. It's Ash Walsh in third. Could be second soon though. He goes down the inside and now he can set out after his former V8 supercar rival from last year. Walsh was an Erebus Motorsport driver in the V8s. Not on the grid full time this year. And elected to move into that car vacated by Nick Foster, who's off racing Porsche Carrera Cup Germany this season, the reigning Porsche Carrera Cup Australia champion. It's a good car and Walsh has been driving it well. So here's the start, and that definitely was Adrian Flack going absolutely nowhere. And they started from 4th and they're P nowhere now. Good evasive action by a whole bunch of drivers who had good foresight to see that car not going anywhere and dive around each side of it. And this was that run up into turn 2. It's always busy because it's such a long corner. It always gets pretty difficult. Now look further afield. I think we'll see some contact. Yeah, car 25 has a spin. So Calvert Jones behind the wheel of Alex Davidson's Wilson Parking Copywood Racing Porsche. So that's going to hurt them because Alex led the championship coming into the weekend. They'll need to make up some positions in this race if he wants to lead it going out of it into round 4, which will be held up in the top end in Darwin in mid-June. Here's Richo down the inside on his teammate. Gets the position on James Bergmiller. So Holdsworth through, Fiore through. Bunch of pro drivers, full-time racers going through the Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge, guys. And all of them to a T have spoken about that this weekend, and that they just have to be careful when the pros come blazing through. There's no point getting involved in a massive scrap with a car that's faster. Run your own motor race and it'll work out for you at the end of an hour's worth of racing here at Sydney Motorsport Park. And Dylan Thomas will go through as well. Smart driving by Bergmiller. He's thinking of the long game and maybe a spot on the podium in the Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge this weekend. So that was a look back. So that was Stephen Richards going through, and a whole bunch of cars just followed him. If you get out wide at turn 2, that's something that's going to happen into the marbles of that long 180-degree, very, very difficult corner at the end of the back straight at Sydney Motorsport Park. I think that's smart driving from Bergmiller. He knows he's got Garth Tander sitting in the garage, ready to plug into that car for the second half of the race. So he'll have an advantage then. This is Tim Slade on Jeff Emery. It's the third on the road. It's been a great opening lap for Slade, who's now in his third year of racing with Adrian Mastronato in the Pro-Am format. He gets that position done nice and easily. Emery was probably the most vocal of the once-a-weekend Carrera Cup races about having to roll over for the pros, and he said it with a smile. He said, look, I'm not going to get involved in their motor race. I just want to let them go. I don't want to ruin my full-time drivers' championship because I feel like racing a V8 supercar driver. It certainly worked for them yesterday, and Jeff drove brilliantly to win that motor race with Matt Campbell. Here's the fight a little bit further back. Ash Saywood Motorsport watching on. Dylan O'Keefe there with a race suit round his waist. He'll jump into the Dexion car in the second half of the motor race. Shane Van Gisbergen will jump into Triple 2. That will be worth sticking around for. A break from Sydney Motorsport Park and come back with a conclusion right after this. Welcome back to the Porsche Renault Sport Festival of Motor Racing here at Sydney Motorsport Park. We're midway through race 2 in the Porsche Carrera Cup Australia Pro-Am. It's round 3 of a compelling championship. We've already had some great motor racing, and there is more to come in this one as the second 1 hour motor race sorts itself out. That's the battle for third. It's Tim Slade versus Stephen Richards. The fight for the lead a little bit further up the road has David Reynolds out in front of Ash Walsh. So the pro drivers are in at the pointy end of the field, and there are some great scraps, and Richo has carved his way through, the former champ in the laser plumbing and electrical Porsche. And that was the pass just at turn 4. It's easy to do if you get a good run out of turn 3, but you need to have it clear by the time you go through, because that quick change of direction into turn 5, the left-hander over the crest. A little bit further back, Dave Ryan behind the wheel of Fraser Ross's 360 Fly Porsche. New sponsor to the category this year. Sam Walter behind the wheel of Dylan O'Keefe's Dexion car. Down the inside, up at turn 2, locks the rear brakes and goes off the road. So they were squabbling over 11th place. Got to hand these cars over back to their regular drivers at the pit stop, which is rapidly approaching. And that's Dylan O'Keefe watching on with just the briefest shake of his head, watching from the Ash Saywood Motorsport pit bunker. So Dave, who's a regular front runner in the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge, just grab the rear brakes going in there. We've seen that a few times this weekend. And this is a circuit that rewards rear grip. And when you cook your rear tyres and overuse them perhaps, you can lock them pretty easily. And it's big brake pressure up there, and it's a big overtaking opportunity. Unfortunate for Dave, but they'll bounce back, and that car already in pit lane. And so too the Nouveau Constructions Porsche. And so too this guy. Shane Van Gisbergen will jump behind the wheel of car 222. Well, this ought to be fun. Paul Kelly will jump out. A whole bunch of the leading cars underway. So the compulsory pit stop window open. You've got to be stationary for 45 seconds. And that familiar race suit is that of Garth Tander, Holden Racing Team driver, full-time Porsche driver this weekend. So Alex Davison now behind the wheel of his own car again. There's SVG. 40 k's an hour to pit exit, and then we see what he can do. Meanwhile, the fight for second with Stephen Richards on Ash Walsh. Really interesting strategy throughout qualifying for Steve Richards Motorsport. They saved an extra set of tyres for car number 12 by not using a set in Steve's qualifying session. So they sacrificed grid positions in qualifying for having good rubber all the way throughout the races. And it's worked in this one because Steve has been able to blaze his way to the front of the field. And he's now second. Great pass. And saving that extra set of brand new Michelin tyres has worked very, very well. And now the race leader in, David Reynolds and Richards from second. So Tony Bates will take over car 24, the car that leads the Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge. D. Grant, GT Racer, will take over Steve Richards' car. And there's Batesy jumping in with David Reynolds, who's done a super job. No rush, all very calm and controlled in pit lane. Timed pit stop. So they've got plenty of time to plug the driver in. They're throwing right side tyres on Michael Arman's car as well. So working side tyres with the long loaded corners here at Sydney Motorsport Park. It works the outside tyres really hard. So they're just going to give Michael Arman a little bit more grip towards the end of the motor race. And there's Tony Bates out. Good stop. Pit stop underway now for Grove Racing. And there'll be some track position involved here with Matt Campbell now behind the wheel of his own race car. Stephen Grove, the former champion, the Grove Hire Porsche, will jump out, having taken over from Lee Holdsworth. Exuberant departure for Grovey, but he's back into the motor race now, and this is Campbell sweeping round turn one. So he's made up some ground, has Matt. He's P5. There's more ground to gain though. And as this race plays out, he'll be chasing down challenge drivers in front of him. And that is for position. So Grove, who's been standing still for 45 seconds against Campbell, who's got Michelin tyres up to temperature and pressure. And he's a pro driver, and he's hooked up, and he's in the form of his career, and he's now a position further forward. So this will be fascinating to see how much time Matt Campbell can make up, because there's a fair whack of it he's got to find in the second half of this motor race. Textbook Sydney Motorsport stuff that. Down the inside, grabs the spot. And Stephen Grove, he's smart. He's raced plenty in Porsche Carrera Cup Australia, so he knows when to bail out of a fight, especially when you've just come out of pit lane. So this will be the fight for the lead. It's Tony Bates leading the way from Max Twigg, the triple champion in the Carrera Challenge a couple of years ago. Once beat Mark Scaife in a Carrera Cup race at the Grand Prix. He's a ripper driver, and behind them Matt Campbell hunting them down. And this is the fight for the race lead. It's been a really good start to the season for Tony Bates. Won the Clipsal 500 Adelaide in his class. He's done that a couple of times, won all three races there. Scored solid points at the Grand Prix, though it didn't go quite to plan at round two. But he's performed well here, and David Reynolds has helped do the job. It's Max Twigg who's driving Ash Walsh's car, and Walshy did a superb job to haul that to the front of the field for Sonic Motor Racing. And that's a change for the lead. This is a ripper scrap, and Campbell might end up getting two in one corner here. Not quite close enough to go through on Twigg, but it might not be too long before he gets it done. And just a lock brake there, you can hear a tortured Michelin It cried enough, and through goes Campbell back to the front of the field, where they qualified and they finished race 1. And he's looking for career win number 9 in Porsche Carrera Cup Australia. He's starting to rattle up some pretty impressive statistics, the young Queenslander, who's arguably championship favourite amongst a field of favourited drivers this year down the inside. And it just unsettled Batesy, he went wide. And Campbell thought, I think for a second, that maybe I'll go down the inside at turn 7, but Corporate Hill's a pretty daunting corner. And pretty smart just to leave it for the next one and get it done at the hairpin. One of the appealing things about Porsche Carrera Cup is that there are fights all the way through the field. This is for 16th position. Down the inside, the Dexion car. Dylan O'Keefe now behind the wheel, gets the position done. And he's working his way forward. James Abella, graduate of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge, just behind. That's Jake Camilleri. Front runner of production car racing. There's been contact at high speed on the exit of turn 3, and Abella clouts the wall on the inside of the road. Big contact for the local driver in the Horsley Park gun shop car, and it brings out the safety car. Well, this will be a very, very big moment, because not only will it kill the lead that Matt Campbell's got, and you can see the stress on his co-driver's face. Jeff Emery, with a shake of the head, resigns to losing a 5-second margin, and the Porsche safety car out. So contact, and Abella found the wall. It was Garth Walden just in front, but he wasn't really involved in that fight. And young James is very disappointed. Won the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy in the GT3 Cup Challenge last year. He's a heck of a steerer. So Camilleri was shallow coming out of the corner, and Abella made contact with the rear of Camilleri's Saint car, and it fired him across the road, and that's quite hefty contact with that very, very firm concrete retaining wall over the bridge here at Sydney Motorsport Park. So it's a shame for Abella, but it's great for the motor race. We've got 2 laps to go. It really is a sprint to the line. It's Matt Campbell leading them, and this is Shane Van Gisbergen, quite achiever so far because there hasn't been a safety car, but he needed one. He's 10th. How far forward can he go in 2 laps? Bearing in mind in race 1, he went from 20th to 14th in the opening lap of the motor race. We're back underway, 2 laps to go. A little bit of contact through turn 1. That's Nick McBride, championship leader coming into the weekend, going down the inside of Tony Bates. His teammate now in front, 3 wide behind them. This is busy. And is it any shock that it's Van Gisbergen making the moves? Not really. Remarkable driving. Bates loses 2 spots. Through goes David Wall. Through goes Nick Percat in the McGrath car with a big orange stripe up the side. He's now 4th. Here's SVG down the inside of David Wall. He'll get that done. What about Percat? He passed him in race 1. He might do the job this time round. And that's Garth Tander, the bright yellow car. So he's taken over from James Bergmiller. These two having a really good weekend, and Garth revelling in racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup Australia. 2 Sonic cars. Campbell out in front of those 2 and pulling away with clear air and clear racetrack in front. McBride now up behind Max Twigg. So Nick will need to get his teammate here, because Max, although his teammate Ash Walsh in the championship fight, Max isn't. But Nick McBride, a full-time driver and right in championship calculations. And every single position will help, especially with a guy that will lead the standings if they finish the way they are, being the next car up the road. And that's Shane Van Gisbergen. What's his left hand doing? Well, he's flashing the headlights as they start the final lap. Nick Percat will not make this easy. I guarantee you, he will not make this easy. 1 to go. Campbell the leader. P2, is it about to change? McBride, they were right on the edge of braking performance up there, but he finally got it done, and it squeezed Twigg a little bit wide. Percat goes through. Van Gisbergen goes round as well, commits to the outside line and grabs the spot. And has to do the same at turn 4. And he'll finally get that move done. It's taken 3 corners. Great racing and a little bit of contact up in front, and that's hurt David Wall's car. He's got damage on the right front. There was contact as they barreled into turn 5, and he's got broken right front steering. He is going nowhere. Just needs to limp it to the line if he can. The McElrea team heading to pit wall. They're looking for the double. It's never been done in the Pro-Am format. No team has won both races in the same weekend. Matt Campbell and Jeff Emery about to do that. This is Van Gisbergen on Percat for the final spot in the top 3. They're both driving these things ridiculously hard. McBride up the road a little bit in second. Campbell clearing out in front. Great motor race. Great drive, Van Gisbergen. He was 10th at the restart. He's waving to his little mate Percat in front, and waving to his team is Matt Campbell. A clean sweep at Sydney Motorsport Park, and he and Jeff Emery win the 2016 Carrera Cup Australia Pro-Am. What a dominant performance. An amazing team performance from those two to win in front of Nick McBride and Dylan Thomas, with Shane Smollen and Nick Percat grabbing the final spot in the top 3, just in front of a flying Shane Van Gisbergen and Paul Kelly. In the end, Stephen Richards and Dean Grant finished that one 12th after a great drive by Richo earlier.
I mean, I was pretty lucky there a couple of times with Fatesy and Twiggy there, but very happy to get the win, and I can't thank Macway Racing enough. I mean, we maximised on points, perfect for our championship, and really looking forward to the next round.
Yeah, it was like a normal V8 supercar race those last couple laps after safety car. Percat, Giz and I and Wally were all going at it hard, and I mean the important thing all the way through the race was to try and race the other challenge guys for James's championship, and this is huge for that. So great points haul for James, second overall. Yeah, it's good fun, this Carrera Cup racing.
Terrific racing this weekend. Matt Campbell, the 3rd different championship leader after 3 rounds so far this season. He now leads Nick McBride, and Alex Davison, after a tough weekend at Sydney Motorsport Park, jumps to 3rd. Tony Bates still leads the Tag Heuer Carrera Challenge. James Bergmuller with a rocket to 2nd, and Stevie Grove is now 3rd. Well, as they celebrate on the podium, it's been a remarkable weekend of racing here at the Porsche Renault Sport Festival and for the Porsche Carrera Cup Australia. Our round winners in Pro, Jeff Emery and Matt Campbell, and in the Carrera Challenge, James Bergmuller and Garth Tander. A first win for James Bergmuller. Thanks for watching, and thanks for joining us at Porsche Renault Sport. It's been an unbelievable weekend of racing, and it's going to be a great year for the Porsche Carrera Cup Australia. After the break, it's off to Belgium and the legendary Spa circuit. Round 2, the FIA World Endurance Championship, the 6 hours of Spa. Stick around.